One of the most important pieces of financial literacy, in my opinion, is a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, this is a pretty old book. It was written in the 1920s, and it's also pretty small. It's about 90 pages total. But the information in here is incredibly helpful if you want to build wealth. It's not going to teach you how to sell on Amazon. It's not going to teach you about the stock market. And many would say it basically just has a bunch of common sense knowledge when it comes to accumulating wealth. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, a lot of people don't have a lot of common sense. So this book, in my opinion, is one of the best out here if you want to learn how to accumulate wealth over the course of your life. Now, one of the most important portions of this book is something called the 7 Cures for a Lean Purse. And in this video, we're going to go over what those 7 cures are. So if you listen to the whole video, you won't even have to buy the book. So like I said, we're talking about The Richest Man in Babylon, and I honestly do think this is one of the best books out here for financial information. If you do want a link to it, there will be a link below. You can check it out on Amazon. But we're going to go over the 7 cures for a lean purse, and that's one of the main portions of this book. There are other things covered in it, but this is the most important in my opinion. And these 7 cures are things that you can do to improve your financial situation, and I guarantee you that if you follow all 7 of these steps, you will be much wealthier a year from now than you are today. So the first step is the first cure. They call each one a cure. The first cure is start thy purse to fattening. And what this talks about basically is that the guy in the book wants you to start saving 10% of everything you bring in. So every time you get paid, you're supposed to save 10% for yourself. So think about it. When you bring in money, the most of the money that you get goes out towards bills, right? You got bills for your car, you got bills to pay rent, whatever. As soon as you get money, you should initially right away take away 10% of that and put it towards yourself. Whether that be the stock market, whether you're into cryptocurrency or whatever it is, you need to take 10% of everything you make for yourself. Now, if you grew up going to church, you would know about this concept. They had you tithe 10% to the church, but in this situation, we're talking about tithing 10% to yourself, because once your money comes in, people don't think about setting aside money for actually investing. They're just using it towards paying their bills, and so if you're actually doing this every month, you'll over time get a significant amount of money. So I have several different businesses. I have Amazon, I have YouTube, I have a bunch of different income sources, and every time I get money coming in, I set aside 10% of it. So sometimes I might sell a course for $100. I would set aside $10 of that. My YouTube revenue is usually about $1,000 a month, so I'd set aside $100 from that. Every time you bring in money, you want to set aside 10% of yourself, 10% for yourself. So the second cure is control thy expenditures. And what he's talking about in this section is about luxury items that people don't really need. And it's really interesting. Like I said, this book was written in the 1920s. They had things back then that were luxuries. In today's day and age, in the 2000s, we have so many things that are now way more luxuries that people spend money on that they really don't need to spend money on. So satellite TV, that's a luxury. No one really needs that. Do you really need to buy a new iPhone every 2 years or every year like that? People buy brand new shoes all the time. People need to have the best car to drive around in when they could buy an older car. Do you really need to spend on all of these luxuries? I'll give you an example. My mom, she's retired, she's on a fixed income, and she's had satellite TV for years. And I finally convinced her she doesn't need satellite TV anymore. And that saves her about 70 or 80 bucks, I think. And I don't know exactly how much it was, but it saves her quite a bit of money that she can put towards her retirement now, as opposed to spending it on something that she really didn't need. And quite frankly, she can get most of the channels over the air or online as well now. So it wasn't something that she really needed. So the third one we're going to talk about, the third cure, is make thy gold multiply. And what he's really talking about in this section is making your money work for you. So once you start saving that 10% of everything you bring in, you want it to be doing something, be making more money for you. You don't want it to just sit in the bank, because most banks, most savings accounts have incredibly low interest rates. You're going to get virtually nothing for leaving it in the bank. So you want to be putting your money into something that's going to grow your money over time. So you put in $100 down the road, maybe you'll have 120 bucks in 5 or 10 years. You can do that with stocks. Potentially, if you want to be risky, you can do that with cryptocurrencies, but you can do it with bonds, stuff like ETFs. All of these things are going to multiply your money over time. So what you invest in, you'll have more money if you go these routes instead of just putting it and leaving it in the bank. So next we're going to talk about the fourth cure, and that is guard thy treasures from loss. And in this section, he talks about being wary of get-rich-quick schemes. In the book, he actually talks about having a friend go to another country and buying diamonds, but then they find out that the diamonds are actually just worthless glass. So you have to do your research and getting it invested in things that you know will go up over time. I'll give you another example. There was this cryptocurrency called BitConnect a few years ago. I had a cryptocurrency channel that I talked about quite a bit, and unfortunately there were a lot of people that got pulled into this BitConnect scam and lost millions and millions of dollars. And they were enticed by the get-rich-quick scheme of this scheme. Basically, it said you would have a 1% return every single day for eternity. And obviously that's not possible. You can't just have a return of 1% every single day forever. That was a scam, but a lot of people wanted to get rich quick, and so they fell for it thinking they were going to get a bunch of money. So be wary of what you're getting invested in. You don't want to fall into any types of scam. So the next one, the fifth cure, is make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Basically what he's talking about here is invest in a property, potentially try and buy a property. Now I realize it's quite expensive for property in this day and age. Houses just go up and up and up in value, but you do want to invest in a property once you can instead of just renting. If you're renting, your money is just going towards you just living there for a month and then it's just gone forever. You have no value once you give your money to the landlord. If you're buying a piece of property, your money is going towards towards equity in that property, and then eventually someday you will own that property outright. I'll give you an example there. I went over to my friend's house the other day. They live in a city close to me called Huntington Beach, and just for fun I decided to look up their home. They bought the house back in the mid-90s. So 1995 they bought the house for $400,000, which was quite a significant amount of money, okay? But it was $400,000. That's what they had to buy for the mortgage for that house. This day, it's now 2020. What do you think the price of that house is? That same house worth $400,000 in 1995 is now worth $1.5 million, which is just absolutely incredible. So they are millionaires, even if they don't have a penny in their name, in their account. They're millionaires just because they have a piece of property that went up in value, and so now they have a $1.5 million in home equity. The sixth cure is ensure a future income. And unfortunately, a lot of people go through life not planning for their future, and I think it's like 50 or 60% of people in America, when they retire, have less than $20,000 in savings for their retirement. That's terrible. You want a bunch of money saved up for when you eventually retire. You don't want to have to live off of just government money to get by. So if you're saving over time, if you're in your 20s or your 30s and you start saving now, once you get to, retirement age, you're going to have a large portfolio of stocks or bonds or ETFs or whatever, and potentially if you're investing in something like dividend yielding stocks, you could potentially, if you save up enough money, live off of just the dividends from those stocks. You want to plan for your future, and one thing I want to say, if you do plan for your future, you're already ahead of the game because the majority of people just aren't doing that. So finally, we're going to talk about the seventh cure, which is increase thy ability to earn. You always want to be learning. Unfortunately, a lot of people, once they get out of high school, or some people go to college, once they finish college, they think, all right, I learned everything I need to learn. There's nothing else I need to learn. I'm just going to work hard for 20, 30, 40 years and retire, and that's it. And you shouldn't have that concept. You should always be thinking about what more you can learn. I can learn another skill. I can get better at what I do know now, so potentially I can move up and get a better job or get a better raise, get a raise or whatever. So you always want to be learning. If you're constantly learning, you're doing better than like 90% of the people on this planet, because most people are just trying to coast through life. They're not interested in constantly learning once they get out of school and they don't have to learn anymore. So those are the 7 cures to a thin wallet in The Richest Man in Babylon. I honestly recommend this book. This is one of the greatest books out there. It's not scammy in any way. It's just common sense knowledge that if you follow everything in this book, I guarantee you it will increase your wealth over time. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you did enjoy this video, be sure and like and share it. Have a great day, everyone.